Hello, and welcome back to Surfing Adversity with Antaeus. I'm your host, Antaeus Dalsinos, and for episode 5 of Surfing Adversity, I'm going to talk to you about experiencing grief without getting lost in grief. Last month I did an episode called Overcoming Loss, but I wanted to clarify that overcoming loss does not mean that we do not feel grief. Grief is an experience in life which we cannot avoid, and if we really think about it, why would we want to cheat ourselves out of the experience of grief? In order to never feel grief, we would have to overprotectively guard ourselves from any feelings of connection and love, which would be a pretty sad life indeed. People commonly mistake that having a stoic mindset means to guard ourselves from experiencing emotions and feelings, remaining unemotional, cold, or distant. However, it is not the function of the Stoic to repress emotions, but rather to use wisdom to evaluate emotional reactions, and not get caught up in an emotional response toward an occurrence over which we have no control. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote in one of his essays, "To endure without feeling what you endure is not virtue at all." In other words, to numb ourselves from feeling the bad in life in order to spare ourselves pain is to cheat ourselves out of the true and full experience of life. However, to wallow in the misery of grief would be to cheat ourselves out of the good things in life. By the same token, we need not shield ourselves from fully rejoicing in the good things life offers us, for fear of losing those good things or the possibility of the good being taken away someday or somehow. Last week, our beautiful dog Angel passed away, so my wife Elena and I have been experiencing a great deal of grief. We don't have any children, so Angel was like our baby girl, and her sudden death triggered strong emotions and mourning in us both. You see, about a year before Angel came into our lives, Elena and I were expecting our first child, a baby girl. But during the 3rd month of pregnancy, complications set in, Elena had to undergo emergency surgery, and we lost our little girl. We decided that trying again would be too risky, so later when Angel came into our lives, she, perhaps a bit inadvertently, filled a part of the lingering void in our hearts as our baby girl. We were so looking forward to Angel's 11th birthday in 2 weeks on January 11th, and we fully expected her to be with us for at least a few more years. Just because we have faith in the wisdom of life, that everything happens for a reason, and we know that Angel's death does not mean the end of her beautiful spirit, that does not lessen our feelings of grief. We cannot spend years enjoying the connection with someone and the love for them without feeling grief and mourning the loss of their physical life. But we can experience the grief without getting lost in the grief. Getting lost in the grief comes from thoughts of attachment, desire, and judgment. Thoughts like, "This is not fair. This is not the way it should be. I wish she were still here." Or, "If only things would have happened differently, she might still be here." All of the thoughts which seem to argue against reality and justify in our own mind that this reality is unfair or simply wrong lead us down a path to becoming lost in our own grief. We can offset the ego mind's attachment to what was, desire for things to be different, and judgment that reality is wrong or unfair, with the higher emotions and outlooks of acceptance, gratitude, and faith, or trust. We can dearly miss the ones we lose, but we must not fight in our own mind something which we cannot change. Be grateful for the love we shared, the connection we had, how our life was blessed and made more complete by having them in our life, and how their life was blessed and made more complete by having us to share life with. Accept that none of us sees the whole picture. As hard as it may seem, We must trust and have faith in the wisdom of life to keep us moving forward. Within joy lies the inherent need for sorrow, for without a measure of darkness in life, we would be incapable of appreciating joy. Grief and joy are a yin and yang pair. Without one, the other would cease to exist. We must make it our purpose in life to continue to move forward when dark times present themselves, trusting in the wisdom of life with patience, composure, faith, and certainty. Even though we concede that there will be sorrow in life, we can evolve to understand that experiencing grief does not mean that we must suffer. Experiencing grief does not even mean that we must be without peace, joy, and happiness. Grief is merely an experience in life, a necessary experience in life, an experience which brings a new level of satisfaction to peace, joy, and happiness. Grief is like a torch, which we cannot deny being passed to us. We can either accept the torch by the handle and minimize our burns by recognizing that without joy there would be no sorrow, so denying the grief would mean denying the joy, or we can refuse the torch as unjust or unfair, upon which it will be dropped into our lap, where it will continue to burn and overcome us. Experiencing grief is a part of life, unlike suffering, which is the work of our own mind clinging to what was or wanting to change what we cannot change. We must be careful not to become lost in our own grief. Keep in mind, people do not react to the fates and circumstances of life. We react to our judgments of the fates and circumstances of life. We react to our thoughts and feelings. Our own thoughts can pull ourselves down into a pit of despair where the clouds of suffering seem to obscure our own light. However, our light is eternal. All of the darkness we each face in life, even combined, still has no power to extinguish our light. Eventually, we will all find our way back to the same home. Well, that's all for today. Please feel free to contact me through my website, peacefulhappy.life, if you are struggling, or even if you are not. None of us need to go through this alone. Until we meet again, have faith and enjoy the whole journey while surfing the adversity. Bye for now.